Hello everyone and welcome to another video. So, a common argument against objectivism would be the argument that no taxation would prevent a society from properly functioning. And basically, objectivists believe that the government should not tax its citizens because people have the right to keep their own wealth to use for what they want. When a third party comes in and forcefully seizes their wealth and redistributes it to something that the individual would not voluntarily give his money to on his own, that's immoral. It's taking away individual judgment for the judgment of the government or some other third party, and it's the individual's money. He has the right to his money, and the taxation of his money, that's theft. So it's immoral to take his money. So objectivism advocates for a society that does not have taxation. However, a common argument against this is, but that wouldn't work. How would the government fund the police, the military, the judges? And I agree that those are important things to fund. However, all of this would come about voluntarily in the end. This is because the first reason would be the budget that the government has to pay would be a lot smaller, so a lot less money would be needed. And second, besides just the wealth that's gained by people having more of their money because less of it's stolen through taxes, people would be able to invest in projects that can expand their monetary supply, and because the government is wasteful when it spends its money. It doesn't spend it on the things that are actually demanded, the things that will actually be profitable. But when an individual can rely on his own judgment, his own mind, and puts his money towards things that will be more profitable for him, he will inevitably make more money, and people will become wealthier as a result of this less taxation. So people will have more money to spend, and most people would be willing to give their money to a government of some sort if it's serving its proper role, because everybody knows we need a military, everyone knows we need a police, everyone knows we need justice. Those are things that people want, so it would make sense that they would spend money on that. And ultimately, there are other forms besides simply just giving a check to a government, although I do think that would probably be sufficient. But there's other ways to get that money as well. One way that Ayn Rand talked about would be a contract fee. Since the government's in the business of enforcing contracts, one could pay a fee to the government to get that contract enforceable, so that it's not just a slip of paper that two people agreed upon. Those two people would have to go to the government and say, we're going to pay you this money, and then now it's enforceable. And I think that would make a lot of sense. It would make the contracts it would make the contracts a voluntary exchange between the citizens and the government, and that's basically the principle of trade. You just trade value for value. The government gives you an enforceable contract, and which is its job. Its main job is to enforce contracts to protect people's rights, and then we give the government money that it can spend on actually enforcing those rights through the police, justice system, all that stuff. So yeah, it's pretty absurd for when people argue that a government without taxation would not have any money. I think most people understand that there's some role that the government needs to play in our lives, and that most people would be willing to give up some of their money towards funding the government, especially if it's a just government. And this voluntary taxation thing would lead to another check on the power of government, because if the government's not doing well, if it's violating people's rights, and if it's doing a bad job, then people will be less likely to give it money, so the government has an incentive to do its job properly. So ultimately, a political system without taxation would be the best system, since it doesn't require the violation of people's rights through taxation, and it would provide a check on the government, and it would, unlike what people are concerned about, it would end up giving the government enough money to properly fill its functions. Alright, so I think that's all I have to say today. Comment below if you have any disagreements or questions. Thank you for watching, and hope to see you in the next video.